They're complex, they're important, and they're wet. And when you're looking at developing your property, they need to be considered. We've made this series of videos to explain why wetlands are important, to dispel myths, and help you in the process of building your home without getting soaked. Whatcom County has a process to help home builders properly design your site so as to avoid wetlands and eliminate any unpleasant surprises. To help understand this process, let's tag along with a couple eager to build their dream house.
Oh, this is beautiful. Let's put it right here.
Looks like someone thinks they've found the perfect spot for their new home.
Right where?
Oh no. How could they have known? Known whether there are wetlands or other critical areas on their property? Well, PDS staff is here to help them, and you, figure that out.
Hi. A few weeks ago when it was dry, my wife and I picked a spot to build our home. But after that storm last week, we discovered that it was pretty wet. My friend says it's probably a wetland. Can you help us figure that out?
That's what we're here for. We start by pre-screening your application at the planning counter.
What do you mean, pre-screen? How do you do that?
We use maps, aerial photos, history of past permits, and professional knowledge to help you find critical areas on your site and to help determine whether or not you need to do a natural resource assessment.
Won't that take forever?
No. It only takes 20 minutes or less.
What's a critical area?
Critical areas include wetlands, streams, geologically hazardous areas, frequently flooded areas, critical aquifer recharge areas, and fish and wildlife conservation areas. And if there are no critical areas on your property, then it's time to apply for your building permit. If it appears as though there are critical areas on the property, then the law requires that a natural resource assessment be completed.
What's an assessment?
An assessment involves more in-depth staff research, a site visit, and possibly digging test pits.
Yeah, I bet that'll cost me an arm and a leg.
Not really. In 2014, an assessment cost between $210 and $450. We used the Army Corps of Engineers manual to determine whether or not there are wetlands on the property.
Our realtor said there was an assessment done when the property was subdivided, about 8 years ago. Could we use that?
Unfortunately, no. Because conditions and laws change over time, an assessment can't be over 5 years old. And if no wetlands are found, it's time to apply for a permit.
But this is Western Washington. It seems like everything is wet.
Indeed. In Whatcom County, wetlands are one of the most common critical areas. If wetlands are present, then the law requires that they be examined and explained in a critical areas report. The examination and report must be done by a qualified wetland consultant hired by the home builder, and it must be prepared according to the law so that county staff can approve it. If the report is not approvable, the application cannot move forward. And if work is done in the wetlands without approval,
I told you to talk to the county.
I know a puddle when I see one. I didn't see any puddles.
Well, some wetlands are only wet in the rainy season. Other times they look just like dry fields.
Wetlands can be obvious, or not so much.
So it takes a qualified wetland expert to properly identify all the various aspects of the different types of wetlands. And we wetland consultants need to be familiar with all the local, state, and federal laws about movement of water through your property. We can map or delineate the wetlands and classify them so that you'll know what you need to do if you want to build near them.
So you need to survey my entire property?
No, by law we only have to survey within 300 feet of where you're building, not your entire lot.
How do we find someone like you?
And more importantly, what does that cost?
costs vary depending upon who you hire and what your property is like. We have a list of qualified consultants, but you get to choose who to hire. Choose wisely though. More expensive does not necessarily mean better. A good consultant will follow the rules to keep you out of legal trouble and get your approval as quickly as possible. If you want, we can provide examples of approved reports. Knowing which consultants have a better success rate of approval may help you choose yours.
Feel better, honey? We'll take that as a yes.
Wetlands are just one more thing. like roads, utilities, soils, slope, and other constraints that you need to know about before you design a home or subdivide a property.
As your wetlands consultant, I'll determine the boundaries of your wetlands, what type they are, and what they do with the water on your property, what functions they provide. They're rated using the Corps' manual and state-approved rating forms, and they receive a score based on an assessment of their functions and habitat value. From this score, the law then determines the size of the buffer required around the wetland, the area that needs to be left natural. And though I can do all this for you, the final plan still has to be verified by county staff.
Now it's time to design your home and site layout so that it works for you while not damaging the functions of your wetland.
So, are we done yet?
You completed your perilous journey through the wetland.
Not quite.
But why are there all these rules? And why are wetlands so important? Watch our next video in which we explain the science of wetlands a bit more.